So the people that do not take action today when buying a house are the ones who are going to be losing even more money and more value. I'm going to take a few minutes today to show you why buying a house, even in today's market, is still a better choice than renting. All right, so why is today still a great time to buy a house? You know, interest rates have gone up. We're saying that, property values have gone up. We're looking at a recession. Why would I want to buy a house today? Well, because simply, if you continue to wait, it's going to harm you and your family. It's going to be much more difficult for you to get into a house. And I'm just going to use the example of 12 months from now, okay? So we're going to see property values increase. Interest rates are probably as high. Maybe they'll tick up a little bit higher, but they're pretty much as high as where they're going to get. And we are seeing some things, though, that are going to harm you if you continue to wait 12 months to buy a house. So what this video is really for is for the people who are on the fence. I'm like, should I buy now or should I wait for interest rates to come down? Should I wait for property values to come down? Now, two things. Number one, interest rates probably aren't going to come down anytime in the near future. And number two, property values are probably not going to come down either. So let me jump in and show you a couple of tidbits of information that I think are going to be really informational for you. So let's start off with where property values are expected to go over the next couple of years. So this is the home price expectation survey. It came out fourth quarter of 2021. So this is about 6 months old. But what I want to let you guys know is the pessimists said that property values over the next 5 years are going to go up 23%. The optimists said 62%, and the median for all panelists was 43%. So even if it's just a 43% jump over the next 5 years of property value growth, that's still a significant gain. Now you might say, well, what's driving this property value growth? What's driving properties to go up? Well, I want to show you real quick on what's going on with inflation in our country right now. Right now, as of June 2022, inflation is about 9.1%. Now, this is very important when it comes to housing because I'm going to show you here in a minute the relation between home sales prices and inflation, okay? So let's jump over there. So let's jump over to what has been going on with home sales prices or home property values with inflation. And we're going to go all the way back to the 1970s. And let's take a look at historically what happens to the home sales price in relation to inflation. So we're seeing in 1970, inflation was the 1970s, that entire decade, the inflation was 7.1% and the home property values went up 9.9%. In the 1980s, inflation was 5.6, home property values went up 5.5. In the 1990s, inflation was 3%, property values for the decade went up 4%. In the 2000s, 2.6% and 2.3%, that's including the market crash of 2008. Now, 2010, we're seeing 1.8% inflation and 4.9% property value growth. In 2020s, we are seeing 1.4% inflation and then 9.2% property value growth. And then the latest data coming from 2021, 6.8% inflation, 18% property value growth. Now, what I want to let you know is generally property value growths are going up higher than inflation. Now, there was a few times there where they were kind of neck and neck, almost a negligible difference, but generally property value growths are a little bit higher than what's going on in inflation. So if we're seeing inflation at a 9.1%, it's pretty safe to say that we're going to see property value growth at least a 10%, maybe a shade higher. So let me show you why buying a house or waiting to buy a house is potentially going to be harmful to you and your family. Despite increased interest rates, despite the property values going up over the last couple of years, this is still a great time to buy a house, and let me show you why. So if you buy a house today, let's just take an arbitrary number of $200,000 at a 6% interest rate, your principal and interest payment is going to be about $1,200 a month. So what I want you to keep in mind is that $1,199 payment. Because if you wait, let's just say 12 months, if inflation is still going high and property values match inflation, in 12 months, you're going to be looking at a $220,000 house, which now that brings you up to a $1,319 a month payment. So let's take a look at this real quick. So if I'm at $1,199 and mine is $1,319, right? That means I'm paying $120 more a month for the same exact house that I could have gotten for $200,000 today. And if I multiply that by 12 months, it means I'm paying $1,440 more a year. And if I multiply it for 30 years, it means I paid $43,000 more for the same house a year from now that I could have gotten today. And that's assuming interest rates stay the same. That's assuming the property values only jump 10%. So the simple fact of the matter is, by waiting to buy a house in today's market, if you just said, hey, I'm going to wait for 12 months, that is going to put your family at a deficit of $43,000 for the same house. Now, the argument might be, well, what if interest rates drop in the next 12 months? Okay, so let's play the scenario. So if I wait in 12 months and I buy the $220,000 house that I could have gotten for $200,000 today, and let's say my interest rate was at 5%. Well, great, now my payment's at $1,181. But one thing that you're not accounting for is this. If I buy that $200,000 house today, I can also refinance it, which means my payment would only be $1,073. So still, because you control the asset, you can still turn around and refinance it if the rates go down. But if you don't control the asset, you're the victim of the market. And if you're a victim of the market, it just means you don't have any control. At least when you have the asset under control, you can decide what you want to do. Now, this is the last thing I want to share with you. Because what's the alternative to buying your house? You might say, well, I want to rent. Well, if you think the lost my train of thought. The inflation is just going to affect property values. Look what's expected to happen with renting. So if you're renting for $1,200 a month, expect your rent to go up about 10 to 12% as well, which means you're going to be jumping up to about $1,320 in the coming future. And that's just simply because inflation is pushing the prices of everything up, including repairs and stuff like that on the house, and property owners are going to take advantage of that. So what I want you guys to understand is waiting 12 months is going to cost you, in this scenario, $43,000 more for the same house. Now, I understand interest rates have gone up. You're probably not going to get the 2.5% rate, but that's the little number. The big number is the property value appreciation and financing that amount over the next 12 months. That's what's going to kill you. So this is Jason Valentine with Coldwell Banker High Desert Realty. I hope you found this little tidbit of information informative, and I hope that you're going to use it to make your family get into a better position. That $43,000 is either going to work against you, or 12 months from now, you can have $20,000 for equity in your property. You make the choice, but the end statement is I want you to have good information. Give me a call if you have any questions. My cell phone is 575-496-1068. My office is 863-4363. This is Jason Valentine with Coldwell Banker High Desert Realty. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.